So, that being said, let's look at Heroic. It's a pretty easy fight. The main mechanics are rolling acid, which on Heroic, 2 people will get, and we'll see it in the video. It'll put a giant green line through you and green shade to one side. That side is where the wave is gonna go. It's basically gonna spawn a wave on top of you and move it to the side. Really, the only thing is get out to the side. It's not that hard. It'll stun you if you're hit when the line drops. Other than that, he has like one web mechanic that really wasn't that important that we will see on the pool. So the first thing that's going to happen here is he's going to do the web mechanic. And I don't know if fight timings are going to be the same, but yeah. So 4 people get webs. And on Heroic, you could just stack all of these really. It's likely just going to be get them out to the back or out to the side. The people who get the debuff will then be tethered to the center of their circle and will have to run out. And when they run out, it'll snap and do damage. And it does raid-wide damage when they snap.
Are we call couples for that or just YOLO?
It's on Heroic, it's probably just a YOLO. On Mythic, I don't think you can snap multiple in a row. It might. Call it? Yeah. We'll have to see. Actually, on Mythic, at least the way the debuff says is that the first person who snaps does AoE around them. So you're going to want to break your line not towards the rest of the raid. But that wasn't working properly on last Mythic testing, so I don't know how it's going to work on live. But for Heroic, it's pretty simple. Just drop them out of the way, likely in the back. Probably not stacked for the first week since we'll be under geared and it'll hurt really hard, and then you just break them. It's a good time for personal for people who get the debuff. And yeah.
Is it like the Mythic Plus assets where you can like hand of freedom it and just simply run out, or are you slowed at all when you're running out?
You're slowed. You can freedom the slow and stuff. Mages can blink or alter time immediately. I don't know if freedoming the slow will automatically break the line. I don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Next, boss does Erosive Spray. This is his like hardest hitting damage ability. This, like, at least on Mythic, actually did quite a lot of damage. So on Heroic, it'll probably truck as well when we're under geared. So defensive for Erosive Spray would be a good idea. This is the rolling acid. So you see it's a line, it's going through some player somewhere here, and it's shaded to the left, meaning it's going to roll to the left. So it's on Bukoi and Kaloon, I think. Kalalith, yeah. So the line's going through them and to that side. You just run to the same side the shade is on, because that's where the wave is going to go. So you'll see it drop on them, boom, hits them, and it's going to roll out that way. If it hits you, it will continually push you, sort of like Razageth waves, and it'll give you a dot that stacks. Basically, if you get two stacks of the dot, you'll probably die. It starts to hurt really freaking bad, really fast. But there's no real reason for anybody to get hit by that except for the people who are dropping it. And then you go back into webs again. The other thing that this line does is you'll see it actually, if it hits any of the webs, it'll turn them into a permanent acid pool. That's like unavoidable. It's gonna happen. So the idea is just don't place these webs in the middle of like the boss and stuff. So make sure you give yourself room. You get webs again. Web people break it out. Yeah, pretty simple. The boss, by the way, is not movable, and he starts the fight at 60% health, if you didn't notice that. So people who have talents that do damage above a certain percent HP should probably not take those talents.
Yeah, it's a warrior fight. They can dump the shit out of that boss.
Yeah, and
Valley, I guess.
This is like the last mechanic he does in phase 1, which is he targets people with green circles, and he will spawn ads from those people, and those ads will hit the people who had the target on them until they're like at 50% health or something, or maybe they changed it to just their first hit, and then they will fixate and target random people. These ads on Mythic fucking murdered. We did this heroic testing so long ago that they were probably undertuned, but they hurt really, really bad. And you can get overlaps like this where you could potentially get the ad spawn and the webs at the same time, and you're going to take a lot of damage. So that's a really good time to have a personal. But otherwise, you just kind of keep the ads close and nuke them down. And then I believe, yeah, boss is going to do AoE again. See, the initial hit hits really hard. The dot after, not too bad. But the initial hit does some serious damage. And then he F's off into Narnia. On Heroic, he is going to stop halfway through his flight. And he's going to channel a cast that you interrupt at the last second. On Mythic, he flies all the way to the end. So you have to actually run like very quickly. On Heroic, since he lands first, you have time to get there and interrupt him, and then he will jump and fly again. You'll note the shit he's dropping on the ground. The green pools are actually ones that are just going to go away. These yellow ones, after they land, will turn into a permanent acid pool. So they will be there forever. These are generally baited on players' area, but they can't overlap fully, and they aren't directly baited underneath players. So it's kind of just like you just run around them. So we like insta-kicked the interrupt there. Didn't really matter. And then you'll see, we kicked it really early too. Acidic Eruption. So he's going to fly over here. He's going to cast one Caustic Hail, which is the pools on the ground. Then he casts Acidic Eruption. That is the cast that you'll be interrupting. Try to interrupt it late. Give everybody time to get over here. Because immediately after this, he is going to do a Group Soak. And it's going to be targeted on the ground. Right there. What we were doing here was just testing like immunities and stuff. They've since changed this mechanic, so you have to have a minimum number of people in it, so you can't immune it anymore. I think it's 4. So technically you could have 4 mages do it. But the thing with it is, just like the first boss in the raid, just like the second to last boss or whatever, it hits you with the Group Soak and then it sucks you off the edge. The fewer people that are in the Group Soak, the harder the pull. So you will get absolutely yeeted if you solo soak it and don't have a way to get back on.
That's easy.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is just everybody runs over, you interrupt late, everybody gets in the soak, you get soaked, and it pulls you like 3 yards. It's not a hard pull if everybody's in it. And then you just repeat. You're just doing the same thing on this part of the platform. So lines go out, you'll get webs, you'll get ads, and he will do his AoE. And those are his only 4 mechanics. Green lines, webs that you drop and break the tether, ads, and just AoE damage. And that is like rinse repeat for the whole fight. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's simple. Again, like I said, this shit is probably going to hit hard. There's a lot of like overlaps here where you're either getting webs and ads or ads and the AoE. That like this will be important for you to have some idea of where you're going to use your defensives, depending on if you get certain abilities or not, because this will kill people. The only actual mechanic change on Mythic is that there are 3 green lines instead of 2, and they are in a triangle shape instead of in halves of the room. That is the only actual change between Heroic and Mythic. So yeah, that is pretty much it.
Are ads like CCable and everything like that, or is it just like running rampant?
I think you can CC them, and it's probably a good idea because their cast like hurts really hard. I think they are like stunnable. Yeah, somebody just had like a shockwave debuff on them, so they are CCable, and we should try to do that. I don't know if they're grippable, but those things will do a significant amount of damage to people, so we should try to stun them. Any other questions?
Nope.
Alright. It is pretty simple. Defensive for Erosive Spray. Potentially defensive if you get Spinneret Strands, that's the webs. Rolling Acid, you just move to the side. Potentially defensive if you get ad spawns. This is the Group Soak. You don't even really need a defensive for the Group Soak. At 30 million damage, depending on how many people you have in the raid, that's 1.5 or less million, which health pools were like 5 million. So that's like 30% of your HP. That's really not that much. And yeah, that's pretty much it.